walk and cute little coffee shop trip, and it is officially Friday night, so I'm about to open a bowl of wine and have a little glass while I do what's left of preparation for dinner, because Alex has very kindly prepped almost everything and it's just on me to make the salsa and the guacamole. So I'm going to open this bottle that I've had in the not in the fridge, sorry, I've had in the cupboards for ages. I bought it for when Sandrine was visiting from Canada earlier this summer, but we ended up just drinking wine out, so I am very excited to finally try it. And I thought while I prep my salsa and guacamole, we could do a little catch up, because it has been a long time since we had a proper catch up. I haven't made a YouTube video in forever, or I've made them but then I haven't edited them in classic Latina style. So obviously I spend more time on Instagram stories, but I haven't done a proper catch up even on Instagram in a long time. So I thought what better than to do another little YouTube video, because things are about to change quite a lot once more, for better or for worse. And yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, you already know, because I've talked a little bit about it in my stories. You already know about the whole flat drama that I've been through the past summer, the past few months, 6 months I guess. But yeah, long story short, our landlord told us in May that they were going to sell the flat and that we had to move out by July. So that was obviously devastating news for us to hear, because I love this flat so much, as you know, and I've just been so happy here and I really wanted to stay here. And you know, there's loads of reasons why it upset me so much, but it has just really felt like my home, and also it was just like one of the steps that I wanted to make towards my future. And now I can't help but feel like I took this step and I was ready for the next one, and then instead I just have to take a step back. So that's been something that I've been dealing with for the past 6 months. But as you already know, if you've seen my stories, or if you haven't seen my stories, you can. They are in my highlight for home, I think it's called. So I talk a little bit about it there, and I don't want to dwell too much on that, because that was obviously the news that we got in May, and since then things have changed quite a lot. So our landlord first told us they wanted to sell the flat and we had to move out, and then they kept extending the time that we could live here. So while we were looking for a flat, we were also just enjoying the time that we could be here. Wait a second, I'm just going to wash these tomatoes. So anyway, we were staying here from May until now. It's now August, actually. It's about to be September next week. So, what is it, next week? Yeah, in a week approximately. We have stayed here, and for the biggest part of that, we were waiting for the landlord to sell, but it was taking so long and they kept extending the deadline that I couldn't help but start feeling hopeful about the fact that they might just decide to continue to let it out and that we could stay, because, you know, if you haven't heard, London is in a bit of a crisis at the moment. The rental market is absolutely insane, like the worst it has ever been, in terms of like, it's the most expensive it has ever been, but also we are in the middle of a recession. So, well, I guess the recession is about to start. I don't know how these things work, but it's definitely bad times for the economy in the UK, and things are getting more expensive than ever. And I'm definitely very privileged and lucky that I'm not taking a huge hit in terms of, like, people are genuinely struggling to like put food on the table or pay their electricity bill. So I'm very lucky and privileged that I don't have that problem, but it has hit me in the way that now flat prices and house prices are so extremely expensive, but my salary is the same. So what happened with our flat, which is very annoying, is that our landlord decided to put the rent up, but because we didn't have a contract with them anymore, because obviously they told us that we had to move out because they were going to sell it, we had no rights, pretty much, and they basically told us that we are now going to let it out to someone who's willing to pay hundreds of pounds more. So that was very horrible, and I don't know exactly what the flat went for in the end, but we offered to pay like a 10% more or 9.7% more, because that's the price of inflation. So we were like, we can pay this much more, but nothing more than that. But they rented it out instead to someone that could pay like several £100s more. So there was just no competing with that, which was very heartbreaking, like having people come into your flat when you were living in it, very much wanting to live in it, and they are coming for viewings and they ask you things like, oh, so how come you're moving? And I'm like, don't want to, you know, but obviously you can't say that because the agent is right there and they're going to report everything back to the landlord, and we're obviously under their mercy in the way that we obviously need a good reference and all of that. So I have ranted for months about this, and everyone that knows me will know that I've had a lot of anger, and I still do have a lot of anger towards my landlord, towards landlordism in general, towards the system, because it really is fucked up, sorry, but it is fucked up that tenants have no rights at the moment because of the situation. So that's been a lot to deal with, and all of that has then led to us obviously having to move, and we have looked for flats for forever. And like I said, it's very bad times in London at the moment, and that's kind of led to where we are now, where I basically for months was so sure that I was going to make London work. I was like, I don't care that it's getting more expensive, I still want to make it work, I still want to, you know, live here. This is the only place I can imagine myself living. But it has just brought so much negativity to me and to Alex, and it's been tough. Like, even though like I've had a great summer, I've done so many fun things that I've been so happy about, it's also been like bad things to deal with, like having to go for flat viewings and then bid for flats and they go hundreds of pounds more than you can afford. And like even like flats that we bid on, sometimes I would feel like a really bad gut feeling, because I would think to myself, like, we can't actually afford this, like we can't afford to put this much money into rent every single month. Like, the prices now are so crazy that with my salary I would have to pay 50% or more of my salary just for rent, just without bills or anything else. So as you can tell, it's just not a good situation to be in. And I know a few people have told me, like, you know, maybe you move into a flat share, you could share with another couple and things like that. And maybe I'm being silly for not doing that, but I just feel like I've already been through that and it's just not worth it for me. I always come back to this thing of like, I moved to London to chase a dream, and I'm not going to chase that dream, but I'm not going to chase that dream just whatever it takes, if that makes sense. Like, for me, I want to live in London, but not just to live in London, I want to live in London to enjoy it. And if I need to live in a flat share with many other people in a terrible, huge, you know, not like, if I have to live in a flat share with loads of people in a place that I don't feel happy, then I'm not going to be happy in London, you know. So when I went home to Norway for 2 weeks, I basically had a bit of a revelation. I was at the cabin with my family, and I thought to myself, you know what, maybe I can release London for a little bit. And so I messaged Alex and I told him, you know what, fuck it, let's give up on London for a bit, let's move to a different city, and, you know, maybe move to Milton Keynes, where he is from, where his family and a lot of his friends still live. And this was one of the things that I told him I was definitely not going to do. Like, we were definitely not going to move to Milton Keynes. That was not my dream. I want to live in London. And even though obviously he also wants to live in London, but he was more happy to move to Milton Keynes for a bit, it was me that was very reluctant. But now, when I was at that cabin, I basically sat there thinking, you know what, peace and quiet for a bit wouldn't be so bad. And maybe I don't need to work so hard to keep this London dream alive. Maybe I can step back for a bit and reassess and actually figure out what I want to do. Because even though I've had a very good time in London the past year, I have also had feelings of like being stuck and being lost and feeling like I'm not progressing and I'm not really living out the kind of dream that I wanted to live here, if that makes sense. Like, there's a lot of things that goes into what I want in my life in my 20s, and I feel like I had like a few of those things nailed down, and one of those things was having a flat here and feeling very happy with the area and the flat that I lived in, and then just feeling that being taken away, and then all the other things like being things that I hadn't even started doing, you know, like figuring out what I want to do with my life career-wise and all those things, you know. Yeah, it just made me feel like, why am I trying so hard? Maybe I need to release it for a little bit to then figure out what I actually want to do. And, you know, if what I actually want to do is London, maybe I can come back in a bit and try again. So that is what happened. I basically messaged him one day, said maybe we should try to move to Milton Keynes for a little bit, and I sent him a few flats that I'd seen. And then very conveniently, his sister knew someone that was renting out a house. He went to the viewing the next day, sent me the videos, and I said, yep, let's do it. And he was obviously very shocked, because this was like, I told him this was the last thing I was going to do. But that's what happened. So the plan is to move to Milton Keynes for a while, at least for 6 months. We are going to rent for 1 year, but with a 6-month break clause, with the plan, or my plan is at least, to have figured out what I want to do by then, and then move back to London or move somewhere different, because, you know, maybe somewhere else would be cool. Maybe we'd move to Canada, you know, or Berlin, or even Oslo, like, who knows. Somewhere, there's loads of places that you can live in the world, and London at the moment is just feeling like it's too hard to be worth it, if that makes sense. But saying that, since making that decision, I've definitely had a lot of doubt and not regret, but a lot of like, shit, what am I doing? You know, is this the right decision? Because I obviously do not want to move from London. I would, like, in an ideal world, I would still live in this flat, or I would live in a similar flat for a similar price, and I would be able to sustain this lifestyle, but I cannot. So just have to move on, I guess. It's definitely a lot of like emotions happening inside my body since I kind of for the past few months, for the past like 6 months since May, there's been a lot of emotions about this. But you know, in a way, since making this decision, I've both felt so much more calm about it, because finally there is a resolution. Because even when we were still living here and we could still live here for a few more months waiting for the landlord to make a decision, all of the power was in their hands, and I was just kind of like knowing that my time was going to be up soon. And now I still obviously know that my time is going to be up, and I'm very sad about it. Like, I look at my flat and I think in a month I'm gonna have to pack up the boxes and leave, which is very heartbreaking. But at least I feel like some power is now in my hands, because I can envision a plan forward, and it's like I've made decisions and I am kind of trusting those decisions. So it's like, it's brought a lot of calm to me to know that, like, okay, even if it's not what I wanted, even if it's kind of disappointing in a lot of ways, it's also like so refreshing and nice to finally have a future to look forward to. Because since May, we've just been in a limbo of like, we have to move, but where and how can we afford it, and like all of those very difficult questions that have been on my mind, weighing on me. And now it's just like, I've made a decision. I'm gonna move to Milton Keynes for 6 months. I'm gonna see how it goes. And even though like I walked through London today, like I walked through East London and I went to that coffee shop, I was like, oh my god, I don't want to leave. Like, I do not want to go to Milton Keynes. I want to stay here in East London. I want to stay here and continue on living the life that I want to live. Like, that was obviously giving me like a lot of sadness, but I am also excited about what's ahead, and I definitely am like romanticizing the future a little bit to keep those like regrets, or not regrets, but like worries at bay. And the way that I'm doing that is by like, literally I've been telling Alex that I'm going to enter my cottage era, because we are going to go from having a tiny flat on a very, very busy road with a lot of noise and a lot of pollution to a 2-bedroom house with a garden and a cute little kitchen and fireplace in like a little village in Milton Keynes. And it's going to be so cozy for autumn and winter, and that's what I'm imagining. And like, that's what I've been telling Alex, like, I'm gonna enter my cottage era, I'm gonna start knitting and baking, and we're gonna decorate for Christmas, we're gonna buy a Christmas tree. And Alex is just reminding me, like, you know, it's not actually a cottage, it's a house, like a terrace house. But to me, it's so important to like romanticize things and like, you know, have, because obviously I also am a very negative person, and I worry a lot, and like I go into spirals about things where I like, what's it called? I maximize the crisis. I don't know what this is called in English, but krismaksime in Norwegian, if you speak Norwegian. I always think like, this is gonna go to hell. But it's also important for me to do the opposite, and sometimes feel like, you know what, this could be absolutely beautiful. This could be just what I need. And, you know, it probably will not be that way, but I'm going to make an effort to make it that way as much as possible, you know? Like, I just keep thinking about like the fact that we're going to be close to his family, so we can go for Sunday roast dinners, and it's going to be a lot of nature around, and we can go to Christmas markets, and they're going to have a car ready, so we can go to like Christmas markets in Oxford, and we can go to Cambridge, and I'm going to buy lots of candles. And obviously a big part of doing this is that we're finally going to have some money, because living in this flat is very, very expensive, and we've been tight with money for the past year. And I know that if we'd continue to live in London for the next 6 months, we would be even more tight on money, and I just didn't even have that money to spend, you know? Whereas now we are going to have some savings, you know, and I can actually spend some money. And I know that sounds silly, but like, I am just so excited to finally buy this blanket from Arket that I've been wanting to buy for the past year, but I just haven't been able to like allow myself to buy it because it's been expensive, you know. But now I'm like, I'm gonna buy the blanket, and I'm gonna buy a Christmas tree when Christmas comes around, and I'm gonna buy all the scented candles, and I'm gonna make it really cozy, and I might even invest in like a little KitchenAid, and I'm gonna start making bread again, you know. And those are the things that are kind of keeping me positive at the moment. Yeah, now I should probably focus on the salsa, because I'm going at snail pace, and Alex has put so much work into the rest of the food, and I don't want it to get cold before I'm done with this. So I'll catch you when it's done. burgers / fajitas for dinner on a Friday. That is just perfect. It just hits right every single time. And now Alex is back on his game for a little bit before before we're going to watch The Sandman on Netflix, which is the show that we're currently watching. A very strange show. It's good. Like, some of the episodes are amazing. Some of the episodes are just a little bit wacky, but we're only a few episodes in, so I'm excited to see where it goes. But yeah, until then, I'm going to do a little bit of skincare. I want to do this face mask that I bought a while ago, and it's one of those things where now I'm really already in like packing mode, even though we're not moving for another month. I'm just like, well, there's no point bringing this onto the next place, might as well use it, you know? Whereas normally I'm the type of person that will save things all the time. Like, I will save a scented candle, I will save a face mask, all of it. I'll just save it until it's honestly gone out of date, or until it's just like, my candles are like melted, you know, like it's ridiculous. So I'm going to use it now before it's too late. And I'm also like fighting the urge to watch Twilight, which I've been fighting that urge for weeks already. But it's, even though it's so hot in London still, like it was like 23 degrees today, it's so autumnal and cozy. Like the leaves are everywhere, everything's just so like brown and crunchy, and it's actually a little bit confusing because in Norway, in Bodø, where I was for holiday, Bodø, that sounds really funny, in Bodø, where I was on holiday with my family, it was super rainy. It was like 13 degrees in rain for the whole week, the whole time I was there, but it was still summer. Like, it was still very green and lush everywhere. Can't get this bracelet off, there we go. Whereas here, it's really hot, but really autumnal. Doesn't make sense. Climate is so funny to me. But yeah, because it's so autumnal outside, I'm already like in autumn mode. Like, I've been like lighting candles. I've already done a few face masks, just like the ones that I have in like other ones. And I just, every single day, I just want to watch Twilight. But I know I need to hold on for a little bit longer, because if I watch it now, then it's already done. It's already watched, you know? So yeah, I'm trying to wait a little bit. And also with all the other like Nora Ephron movies, and I just don't want to watch them all. But I'm going to hold on for a little bit. I'm going to still try to save the summer. And also, even though I'm now in autumn mode, I still haven't been on my summer holiday. Like, me and Alex booked a holiday ages ago. Well, it's not that long ago, but we've been planning to go on holiday to somewhere beachy and hot all summer, or honestly since last year, but it just never happened. So we finally booked it, and we're going to Mallorca in September, and we had to book it that late because our landlord told us that we had to be out of the flat by then. So in our heads, we were like, oh, by September we'll definitely be in a new flat in London, so we can definitely book something then, and it will hopefully be a little bit cheaper and a little bit less warm, because Alex, my boyfriend, is allergic to the sun, which is just the most horrific allergy you can have. I tell this to everyone because I think it's just so shocking. But he's allergic to the sun, and heat also affects his skin really badly. So even though we both want to go on a beach holiday, like he wants to go, it's not going to be the nicest time for him. So we wanted to go when it was less hot. But now, like in my mind, summer is over. You know, it's autumn, but I have still not gone on my summer holiday. So I'm here, you know, getting ready with the candles and Twilight and my slippers, even though it's like 19 degrees still in the evenings, but I still haven't been to Mallorca, you know, that's happening next week. I should be getting like a bikini, not thinking about which boots to wear this winter, you know. Anyway, I'm just using my oil cleanser, the Sensai cleanser, which is really, really good. I got it from my friend as a tester, so I didn't actually pay for this because I think it's a little bit expensive, but I might have to pay for it when I run out because it's really nice. My skin has been really annoying recently. It's just getting worse and worse. I thought that like you had acne when you were a kid and a teen, and then you got wrinkles when you were in your 30s, but like I'm approaching my 30s and I'm getting more acne than ever before, so that's a problem. But those are one of those things that I think about when I think about not living in London for a little bit. I'm like, I might actually have some money to go to like a dermatologist to like ask for help with my skin. It's so funny how much money matters, you know. After my oil cleanser, I went in with my Clinique All About Clean, which I've used nearly half of now, and my review so far is that it's good, but I don't love it. I feel like it's a little bit drying, and my mum said the same. She bought the same one when she got this for me for Christmas, so I don't think I'm going to repurchase this because I much preferred the Ren gel cleanser that I used before this one. So that's my review so far of that one. That was very refreshing. I love having a little evening shower, and I'm happy that I finally have a proper robe. Let's see then. So this is a Biotherm Aqua Pure Hydration and Purity with salicylic acid, which is good because, as always, I have breakouts. They're just never ending, to be honest. Funky colour. The only problem with these masks is that I feel like they're getting wetter and wetter. Like when I was young, the face masks that we used that were sheet masks, they were not as moist, and now it's like I've just washed my robe. I don't want to wash it again, like so soon. And also they're just a little bit hard to open up and pry apart. It was so funny, I did a mask like this with my mum when I was at the cabin, and she sat with both the mask and the protective sheet the whole time. She didn't understand that she had to take off the sheet on both sides, which, to be fair, makes sense because, like, why is this so thick and it has like 3 different layers, you know? I'm ready to look absolutely ridiculous. God, the eye holes are not very big on this one. Now I'm off to make a cup of tea, and then I'm going to continue to fight the urge to watch Twilight and rather read my book instead.
I wake up, I don't wanna make my bed, I'll save up all my energy instead. You take up all the energy I have inside, and I can't find a way to just ignore it, and I can't really take it anymore, 'cause I can't stop.